I'm going to show you what I did to the image, pretty much a retouch, and we're going to go through the whole image. This is the final product. This is the beginning right here, and this is the before, this is after, before, after. I'm going to go ahead and just go through the steps and show you what I did to pretty much retouch, get the color balance, and just pretty much get everything how it's supposed to go. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the grouping, and we're gonna go start from scratch. What I start doing and what I learned, I convert my image, I duplicate the layer and convert my image to 8-bit, and I apply some type of sharpening, and then I have already an action for that. So I do an sharp mask about 100%, radius of 1 pixel before I convert it to 8-bit, and this basically gives you some type of sharpening without losing any of the pixels. That's what I've learned. And then after that, I convert it to 8-bit, merge the images, and then I duplicate it. So once I hit play, duplicates the layer, converts it to an image, 8-bit image, and I start from here. Then the next thing I do, I try to color balance my image. A lot of people try to do the eyedropper to color balance it. They usually try to color balance it also in Camera Raw, but I have a different way of doing this, and usually what I do that, and I do that with curves. With curves, I usually go by working with individual channels, and I make sure that all my information is right there, and I just basically click and start bringing the information in, and I make sure that all my information, I start working on it without having to lose any of the information. So let's go ahead and start. By recording the screen, it changes my settings, and excuse me, it changes my settings, so I'm gonna have to kind of work with this a little bit and see why it's not actually doing what I wanted to do, but it's okay. So let's go ahead and expand this guy right here, so it shows me my histogram, and basically it's gonna open up all my channels. Once I have my curves layer, then I actually start working with this information, and I'm gonna keep an eye on these guys right here. We want to make sure that we have no spikes over here. We can actually start pushing in the curves as much as possible. We just have to make sure that once we start getting the little spikes, that's when we start losing the information. So we just got to keep an eye on that. That's alright, about right. This one is already at the most. As soon as I start going in more, I start getting the spikes, so I'm going to backtrack. Once I have the blue channel completed, and then I know that I pretty much have it close, possibly you start spiking, right about there I'm going to stop. I'm going to go to the green channel, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start bringing it in closer and closer. What basically this is doing is actually looking at the colors of the image. It'll start basically correcting, removing any color cast, and it'll get you some contrast into the image. So you start to see the little spike and start losing information. So now we're going to change to the red channel, and we're going to do the same thing. Get it closer, closer, keep an eye on it right here. Once spike starts, that's when we start losing the information. There, we're going to do the same thing on the left side. And then again, once you're doing that, to keep an eye on the image. As you're doing that, you might want to go a little bit more, you might want to start losing some information, but I usually try to keep it, keep all the information that I can. As you can see, that's the before. You see all that kind of brown color cast. It's on the edge. We turn it on, and it'll basically balance it out. It'll remove all the color cast. It'll make it darker, white's all white, and everything. Once I completed that, I usually start retouching. For example, we're going to start working on her skin. So I create a new layer. I name it Skin, and go ahead and start working. I like to start with my heel brush. So as you can see right here, healing brush tool, and I go ahead and sample it and just go ahead and start working on it. And you got to make sure that sample all layers on normal, on sample about 20%. You got to make sure that all all your settings are the way you want them. I'm using a Wacom tablet, so I have it on pen pressure. So it's gonna be different for everybody, the way you use the clone stamp, the way samples it and everything. But I do recommend that you guys start using a Wacom tablet if you're actually gonna be doing some retouching, if you're a photographer and you're constantly gonna be doing this on your images. The Wacom tablet will be a great addition to your tools. It's a must-have for all the photographers. So little by little, I'm gonna start sampling right next to the area that I want to modify, and just go ahead and start retouching little by little. If the area is very similar to here you don't have to sample. You can gotta get a general sampling idea of what you want and start doing it. And I start removing these dark spots. I kind of don't want to have them. It's just this skin tone difference is way too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. Same thing right here in this area. It's too dark. Just pretty much start working little by little. If you see that it's running a little slow when I'm retouching, it's because it's just, I'm gonna remove this guy right here. I have it on full screen, and it's actually taking quite a bit of resources from my computer. I used to try to keep up with the full screen resolution and the screen capture at full resolution. So pretty much just go around through the image, retouch as much as you want. It's your personal choice. You can make the person look perfect, or you can just remove the distractions from the face. Actually, that's what I like to do. Maybe she's had a breakout, a week she wasn't too good, and she started having some breakouts just when the photo shoot was gonna happen. So this is not her normal skin. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the distractions. We don't want people to focus on the pimples, you know. So I'm not gonna make her perfect like a baby doll, but like I said, I want people to focus on the whole idea, her eyes, all the things that the makeup artist try to do with the makeup, and with all these flowers around her head, the theme that she was trying to go for. So we want the people to focus on that. So just little ones right here. I'm just gonna try to remove some of this line right here. It's a little too big for my taste. I'm just gonna go ahead and remove it. I don't want people to see that, you know. You wanna focus the main point to the things that really matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back, turn it on and off just to see what we did. Much better. Just to remove the distractions and everything. And the hand too, right here. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in a little and try to remove some of her scabs. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start sampling. They're very little, minimalistic. Some people say it doesn't matter, but it matters to me because usually my eyes will go directly to the spots that are not supposed to go there. And I'm always wondering, what is that? I'm always thinking to myself, what is that thing? Is it on the picture or is it on my screen? And I try to usually put my finger and try to scratch it. So I usually just go ahead and try to remove it. I'm gonna go back to that one and kind of retouch it a little bit better. Maybe right here was a piece of makeup that she actually grabbed or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove it, lighten it up a little bit. Like I said, I'm just doing the general one. Usually I spend more time removing all this, just blending it in, but for now I'm just gonna go real quick so you can see. I usually spend some more time. Just go ahead and remove everything, make sure the color, it's even, skin tones and everything. As you can see, little by little we'll start removing that black line, but we're gonna go ahead and leave it for now. We're gonna focus on something else. You see right here, there's like a little white dot, white line. It's a little distracting for me. It just seems like there's something like a streak coming across. If you zoom in, you probably won't see it, but from far away you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove that. Much better. And same thing with this. I'm gonna sample from right here, and I'm gonna try to remove this dark spot right here. So let's go ahead and sample. See if we can actually bring it down a little bit. It's too strong. Again, I'm gonna go pretty quick. I usually take my time, retouch, work it a little bit, use different tools, and just work it little by little, and see to the point until it actually blends in and everything. As you can see now, it's pretty much gone, and you can see right here in the hand, dark line. Just retouching some a little bit there. It just keeps your focus and in the face, and now you try to look over here. Once I've done that, I usually go ahead and start merge all new layers and create a new one, stamp. That one is created by, on the Mac is Shift Option Command E, and on the PC I don't know the shortcut, but I think it's Shift Control Alt and E, and you create a new stamp layer. To even the skin tone out, what I use Portraiture. Portraiture is a great program to actually even out the tone, not to make her look like a doll, but it just creates a really nice on the skin. That this one just creates a one skin, one layer, one color, no breaking and everything, and it's just minimal. You can see even right here, it makes it and blends it in more natural. The same thing right here on the head. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off and turn it back on. It brings down this harsh light, and I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see how it just makes it look even more natural. Her texture is still up there. I'm not making it look like the doll. I'm leaving some of these hairs. I can remove them, you know, if I want to be really picky. Fix this part right here, remove some of these little hairs, but you can do that. I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of what I do to kind of keep some of the texture without having to do the Gaussian blur. I retouch the necessary, and then after that I apply some of the portraiture, and kind of just brings down some of those pores and the skin tones. As you can see right here, this white spot all around this black, and once you apply the portraiture, it just kind of evens it out, softens it up, you know, makes it look even more natural. So that's pretty much when it comes down to skin tone. She actually has a great skin, so I really don't have to retouch. Then after I kind of move away from this part, I usually try to go around and look to see some of the hairs, whether they belong or not. As you can see right here on the sides, they just don't belong. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new layer, and I'm gonna name it Hair, because I'm gonna go ahead and start retouching the hair. And for that, I'm gonna use the clone stamp tool, and I'm gonna get in really close. A lot of people say don't get in too close, because you're not even gonna see it, but actually I want to make sure that I get in really close, so that if I can't see it when I'm that close, then I'm not gonna see it when I'm really far. Again, personal preference is, everybody has their own choice, their own style on working with things, so I'm sure you're gonna work with yours. If this works with you, great. If not, go ahead and do your job and do your thing, pretty much, you know. And I'm just gonna kind of start removing. Again, I have mine for pen pressure. My brush, I have it for transfer, very soft, spacing at 25 with shape dynamics, in case I wanted to just kind of give it some nice line fading away lines. So I'm gonna go ahead and sample, and then just go ahead little by little. Depending on the pressure that you put on your tablet, that's when you're gonna start actually fading away or removing some of the hairs. I don't wanna go bother removing all these hairs. Again, we don't want to be perfect. We just want to remove the ones that are just completely out of place, that people might again go around and start looking at individual hairs, and we don't want that. I didn't like that last move. It just the color difference was a little too much. So like I said, if that doesn't work, switch tools, switch back to the heel brush, and then just kind of and see if that works for you. And it definitely works a lot better. And again, see that? There you go. So if one tool doesn't work, just go ahead and switch back to the other one, and just pretty much just keep retouching and keep working away. So that one works. Just this hair, you can tell that it just doesn't belong here, so we're just gonna go ahead and remove it. The texture pretty much is everywhere, is the same thing with the spot, the heel brush. As you can see, even though I'm sampling right here, it kind of picks up the texture and the colors. Again, it's not going to be perfect, so you kind of have to just kind of work it little by little, just to kind of give you the best results that you're looking for. And again, I'm zoomed in, and a lot of people don't recommend it, but if I'm at this point, I can barely see it. When you zoom out, you're definitely not going to see it. As you can see, it's not even there, it's non-existent. And usually that's what I'm going to look for. There's nothing that I can actually distract me from actually going in here and be like, hey, he did a bad job, or healing or clone stamping that. So again, my personal preference. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, guys. I'm gonna switch to my clone stamp, and pretty much same thing. Start working away with it. Depending on how much pressure you put into it, again, it'll start removing it away. So little by little, I like to take my time. I actually enjoy retouching my images. A lot of people just do not have the patience for it. So, like I said, it's almost like an art form, retouching and removing some of this. Some people have the patience, some don't. Some people just don't want to do nothing with it and prefer to do it on the photo shoot. But I'm not gonna die or start reshooting over and over just to remove one or two hairs and have the stylist come over and start working on the hair. You know, if it's not necessary, don't worry about it. I can take care of that. If you can save yourself some time on Photoshop and take care of it during the photo shoot, by all means, go ahead and take care of it. But one or two little hairs is definitely, I can take care of that. It gives me more time to sit down and analyze my image a little bit better, not be all rushed and try to get the image out or to my client. If it's mine, like this one's mine, so I'm taking my time and everything. But if you're considering for a client, you know, you want to do like an excellent job at doing it. Once that's done, I usually try to work on the eyes. So I took care of all of this. Everything else looks good here. I can try to work on this hair right here. If it bothers you, if it's like too much in there, you can tone it down a little bit with the clone stamp tool. Let's go ahead and get really soft. Yeah, let's go in really soft. On transfer, you can actually change the settings to pen pressure, pretty much on opacity and floor jitter. And again, it's personal preference. Like I said, tone it down a little bit, or you can completely take them off. And you can see I start sampling somewhere else. On this one, I think I'm gonna use my heel brush and just start blending it in. Personal preference. If you want to, go ahead and take care of it. If not, you want to leave it as natural as possible, that's fine. And just pretty much start retouching little by little. With the tablet, it's so much easier to do this than with the mouse. It's a no-brainer, to be honest with you, to actually get a tablet and start using it as full potential to make your job so much easier. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a crappy job just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do little by little. Start blending it in, try to remove some of these hairs. Once you go a little bit, zoom out a little bit, you're gonna see that that's pretty much just all gone, all the hairs and everything. I'm gonna do a really bad job just to kind of give you an idea of if you really wanted to remove that. See that one start picking up some of the white, so I'm gonna step back and gonna go ahead and try it again. Computer's running a little slow for the screen capture, as you can tell. Man, there you go. Come on, baby. 1, 2 steps. There we go. I'm gonna sample again and we'll start retouching little by little. Then we can switch to our clone stamp and again, let's start fading it away. Sample some over here and just kind of give it a more natural look. Start cloning away. Right there, too strong. So we're gonna go a little bit lighter, not too much pressure. That way we can get that almost natural look. If we zoom out again, you can't even tell that they're retouching, but it all depends. Maybe your client really wants to do a big print of this, and then you really have to do a really nice detailed job on this. But this is gonna be for the web. I'm gonna post it, and a lot of people are gonna be like, it doesn't matter. If it's gonna be for your client, and then you really have to get in, zoom in, and start cloning out some of these little hairs. You don't want her to have like a little bit. She has all this baby hair right here, and we don't want her to have that. So you can go ahead and start removing that. If they're gonna do a big poster or a big image, blow it up, or actually do a canvas. I did a photo shoot for this couple 1-year anniversary, and they actually blew up one of my images on a really big canvas, and on that one I had to really go to town and start basically retouching the image, removing any imperfection that might actually show up on a canvas. So in this case, for if they're gonna blow it up in a canvas, we're gonna use a heel brush and start removing some of this hair. We don't want her to have a mustache, so all this baby hair. People start basically criticizing her for having a little mustache, or not necessarily a mustache, but you know how people can be like, oh my god, you have hair, you have a mustache, even though it might be so minimal, but you never know. So we want our customer to be as happy and just pretty much not having to worry about seeing all those little hairs and start doing that. And again, you can be as big as you want, you can blend it in. If you start seeing all mushy, too smooth, something like that, let's start bringing it back and then just some clone stamp and start giving it some more texture. I'm gonna go really soft and clone, sample some of this and just give it some texture, slightly start bringing it back. And again, once you go back out there, you can't even see it. Once you do the general, you can start by working on the eyes. I usually start working on the eyes, get some pop on those eyes. She had beautiful eyes. This image doesn't really do justice how beautiful her eyes, how much they popped. So a lot of the times I like to start to bring some more life. I start removing some of this redness around the eye. So we're gonna go ahead and create a quick mask. So if you press Q and then the letter B for brush, you can start painting around the eyes, because we're actually gonna target only that area. And you can do a semi perfect selection. It doesn't really matter. We're just gonna select that. We're gonna go ahead and go back to this other eye, and we're gonna do the same thing. Just go ahead and start filling it, start painting. Oh, messed up on that one, so I'm gonna go ahead and start again. I'm gonna take more time. Make sure you got a decent selection. Don't want to go outside on that. And you're gonna see why I'm doing this. Instead of actually start cloning out every single little vein in her eyes, because she got red eyes, bad day, bad night, whatever you want to call it. Just go ahead and start painting with a quick mask. You press the letter Q again, and you're gonna actually have your selection. Once you have your selection, you can actually you go ahead and launch hue and saturation layer, and we're gonna go ahead and go to the reds, and I'm gonna desaturate the reds. As you can see, it actually starts to bring some of the red down a little bit, might not look too red, and some of the lightness to kind of whiten it a little bit. And this will create a natural look. We can still see her veins, but we don't have that redness on her eye. Again, depending on the eye, it'll change. If you want to make it look perfect, you can actually start stamping, but that for me it actually looks too fake, too white, too fake. So I don't like that. So I usually just go ahead and remove all the saturation and depending on the lightness, and go ahead and remove it. If you zoom out, you can probably tell the difference by turning it on and off. I don't know if you can tell from this far out, but I can tell in my images the difference once I turn it on. As you can see, kind of yellowish red that she has on her eyes. Then if I turn it on, it becomes almost pure white, but not necessarily perfect pure white, because it's just non-existent on a person. You see, if you start zooming in, you can actually start seeing her veins. So again, that's what I do to whiten the eyes. If you start seeing that the it starts coming in or starts creeping in into your selection, everything, you can always go to your mask and start painting with white. And if you zoom in, then you can actually start removing some of the stuff. Actually, I made a mistake. Actually, we're gonna cover it with black. Sorry about that. And just start painting back the normal layer. You can see we're just gonna go ahead and paint back all around her eyes, so it doesn't look like she has gray or flat right here in this area. Same thing with here. See, she looks too gray right here. That just doesn't look natural. So we're gonna go ahead and remove some of that. We don't want a gray line around her eye, unless it's the makeup, but it's gonna bring it back a little bit. I'm gonna just really lightly start painting here, so it doesn't look gray. It looks more natural. It looks much better. Once we've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and actually launch another quick mask. And with the brush, now I'm gonna start painting her eyes. We're gonna start painting just on the eyeball and the iris. And we're gonna get some more color in her eyes, some more popped. And just so that I actually bring out some of the color. Sometimes once you take the flash, for some reason it just looks flat, and you kind of need to bring it back, get some more life into her eyes. The rough selection, again, with the quick mask, you're gonna press Q again to remove it, and it's gonna come back in. Then we're gonna go ahead and do an exposure layer. With exposure layer, we're gonna go ahead and bump it up to 2. Don't worry about that. And the gamma correction, we're gonna bring it down to about 0.70. There we are, right there. Now this is way too much. The gamma correction is basically to bring some more texture back. As you can see, this one is just way too bright, but if you start bringing it down, you start seeing some of the texture come back in. And this is pretty much like her eyes look, not exactly like this, but if you zoom out, you start seeing that it's way too bright. And from here, you can actually bring down the opacity. I usually start working the opacity here and just try to get it at the level that I'm more comfortable with, just to get some light back into her eyes, more texture, get her eyes to pop because they were just gorgeous. So you can actually turn it off and then back on, and then like you can see, start bringing it back just depending on your preference, and make sure it doesn't look fake. You can see just a little bit, just you get some texture. You can actually see that her eyes are colored and looking beautiful, and as you're zooming in, you can start seeing some of the iris, the different types of color that she has. And if I'm happy with it, I go ahead and just leave it like that. Again, your personal preference on an exposure layer, and make sure you go ahead and play with the settings as much as you want, but this is the one I use, a 2, and then I bring it down to a 70.70. And again, retouching. Again, I saw this right here actually when I was working on the eye, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove it because it's gonna bother me, even though it's so small. I'm gonna go ahead and just start removing some of the actual tape from this thing, and just kind of working it. I'm gonna put it on the hair layer since I stamped it. It's actually not doing anything, but it's okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and it's a small move, so it was gonna bother me for the rest of the night, so that should be fine. Once I have this, I guess, all ready to go, I usually try retouching some of the hair. I can get some texture, some contrast and everything, and I usually do the dodge and burn, create a new layer, and I call it DMB, dodge and burn. You can clip it to the next to the previous layer, or you can, however you want to do it, to overlay or soft light and fill with 50% neutral gray, and basically we'll go ahead and have our gray layer. You can bring it all the way up so that it actually works all from the top down, and you can actually start dodging and burning. Again, have it at 20% on the highlights. You can start working on however you want, your preference, and just pretty much I'll start working on the hair. Just gonna, as you can see, my computer's working slow, but if you start working here on the highlights, get some life into the into your hair, more bright, darken. Just retouch some of this, just kind of work with it. And if you click the option, actually it'll dodge it. So same thing with this, just bring some life into your hair, get some texture, and start working on your preference. Again, you can start doing this at your own personal choice. This will take me quite a while, and I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of show you a little bit of what computer's taking way too long to actually start doing this, but just to kind of give an idea on just what it does to the hair. And as you can see, start bringing some of these highlights right here on the side. Same thing with this one, you're gonna start bringing some light, but we turn it on and off, and it looks just more light, more highlights, more shadows. And again, this is your personal preference, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna just spend the whole 20 minutes just working on the highlights. And it's very important from the hair, you know, because you want people to kind of see it but not really see it. You don't want them to show too exaggerate the moves, but you do want people to see like, oh, really nice hair, you know. And you want to start working on those highlights and those shadows, start bringing them up. Once that's completed, then you can actually start getting some more contrast in here. Now usually this is a little too gray for me. It all depends, some people don't care, but I usually start working on this stuff. And oh, I think I pressed the wrong one, sorry about that. I got some alien skin over here. I have some keyboard shortcuts and I pressed the wrong one, so we're gonna go ahead and quit, disregard, and we're gonna go ahead and create a merge all new layer again, everything with the changes. And I'm gonna bring it to camera raw, and from here, once I bring it to camera raw, once the stamp, it'll affect this layer, and then I can actually control pretty much the blacks on that one. I can bring the contrast in here, and as you can see, it'll darken this out. There's so many ways to do it, but this is just the way that I like to do it. And now it looking so much better. You can bring some contrast into the hair and then mask it and everything, but again, personal choice, personal preference, and you'll see pretty much the difference. You want to see like, whoa, this is way too much, I just wanted the background. Again, if you hit option and then hit on the quick layer mask, it'll actually hide it, and then we can just go back in there and start rebuilding only the areas that we want. So we'll switch it, we'll get a bigger brush, and pretty much we'll start painting, you know, start bringing some of the contrast that we added on the other one. Computer's running so slow, it's taking so long to do this. As you can see, come on baby, you're old, I know, but let me see what's going on here. Come on, you get the idea. This is just taking way too long doing a full screen recording at a 25 by 1440 resolution that I have on my monitor. Computers just be like, hey, it's pretty much telling me to take it easy with all this. But as you saw, when I bring it to camera raw, it was doing the whole contrast, bringing this kind of grayish black one into a black. It pretty much affected this, but once I created a layer mask and I basically hit it with black, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting with white to go ahead and to bring some of those. There we go. Thank you, about time. Start bringing some of the contrast. There you go. So as you can see, I'm start painting and I'm bringing some of the contrast. It's really not gonna affect so much of the white in here. It's gonna affect the dark. And if it does, I can go ahead and start painting back again with black. And I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it like that. Just a quick one. So you can see how it's just, it affects it. There you go. Look at that. Full black, grayish, semi-black, and just pretty much just take care of it, you know. It looks so much better. It makes me focus more in here than on the background. because it just looks just dirty. For me, it just looks dirty. So doing it here, there's nothing for people to focus in the background, and I'm just focusing here. Again, you can dodge and burn all these leaves, get some highlights and shadows in here, and the hair the same thing, or eyelashes. You can start retouching some of the eyebrows, and just there's so many things that you can do just to make this the perfect image. But do you really want a perfect image, or do you just want an image that to look like, okay, that's natural, you know, natural look? You can remove some of these dots if you wanted to. You can leave it because it was like a fairy tale, so you got some of the glitter kind of going on. But like you see, you know, if it's just for the web and you don't have to really zoom in, then you can't even tell that she has some of the glitter right here. But if you are gonna go higher, then go ahead and retouch it. The same thing with it. Do a better job in here. You can't even tell. Maybe a little black line here, you can go in and retouch it. But as you can see, we have our image, you know. This is the beginning, this is the end. Again, I'm not focusing on these hairs, I'm not focusing on the black dots that she had because she had a bad week. I'm not focusing on this black line or some of the scabs or scars that she has. This kind of white hair that is just kind of sticking out for me. The same thing with this one, and just looks brown reddish. It just like looks nasty. But again, that's natural because of the color casting, depending on what you have around the studio, and the color casting from her hair and what she was wearing. So that's the after, and this is before. And again, small moves, little by little. Start working on your image, start retouching, bring some more life into it. Focus on, try to bring some focus into the area that you want people. You don't want them to start looking at it, how look, they got straight hairs. People say, I don't like to retouch it because it looks fake. But as you can see, this is more of her natural look. She has great skin, but just she had a bad week and she had a lot of breakouts. So we're just gonna go ahead and take care of her, you know, help her out a little bit. And like I said, bring some more attention into her eyes because you want to have that connection of her eyes. And if it's a little too much, then tone it down, you know, with exposure. Bring it down a little bit. Again, it's all to your personal preference. And once that's completed, then you can go ahead and sign your image, you know, and start putting your name on it, you know. Be proud of what you've done. And your image after that is ready to go. Again, this is my way of retouching the image. This doesn't have to be your way. This is just one way that you can do take care of things. A lot of people like to do more sharpening. A lot of people want to do some high pass just to bring it out. So many ways, different things. If you're not focused on the image, then you can do some extra sharpening. But as you can see, when I took this image, I made sure that I focused on her eyes. I made sure that she was standing straight. And then when I focus on one of her eyelids, I usually do a dot, a square, just to focus on one of her eyes. And if she's on a straight line, not sideways, everything is gonna be in focus. So again, personal preference. Hope you liked the video. I'm gonna try to do a couple of more just to show you how I retouch different images, different skin tones. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave some comments and let me know.